Hello and welcome to my channel Close to the Edge, where I talk about all things prog rock, classic rock, heavy rock, and just maybe, Rob, stick a rock. Stick around, you never know. Stick around. Today I have a very special guest, all the way from County Loud. I have Rob from Wall Again. Rob, welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Pat. It's great to be back.
It's good to see you, Rob. And Rob has his own channel called Wall of Gain. And it's a brilliant channel. Does a lot of different types of videos. And I will stick the link up in the description. And people can go and check you out. And I'd like you to go and check out Rob. You know, great man. And Rob, today we're going to do a very interesting video. Very interesting. Our top 5 Irish rock bands. And this for me was fairly straightforward, to be honest with you, because there's not a whole lot, Rob, when you look at it, of Irish rock bands. I mean, in the bigger scheme of things, there ain't that many. Did you
Yeah,
find
there's
it?
not that many that's, I suppose, made it big.
Yeah,
There's a lot of bands, and we were speaking about a band before we came on air there even.
yeah.
There's a lot of bands that had maybe one or two singles, and they toured and they gigged, but they still kept their day jobs, and they're still gigging now, but it's a hobby, They never really did it full time, and
No, 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 no,
I think Ireland has a
no.
lot of bands like
Yeah,
that.
obviously there's a couple of mega bands. Obviously we get
Mm.
into that. So what we're doing here, Rob is picking 5, I'm picking 5, and we're going to go 2-2-1. So Rob, what is your number 5?
So number five for me, my fifth favorite Irish band or artist is Pat McManus. And the reason I've chosen Pat at number five is because I think his work with Mama's Boys, particularly that album Plug It In, I
Yeah, I
think it was
saw him on. I
1982.
used to watch him then. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a fantastic album. Really, really good. There's elements of Celtic rock and fiddle in there, but there's also hard rock and little bit of proto metal in there as well. Pat was a fantastic guitar player. Still is a fantastic guitar
yeah,
player.
still touring. Yeah, still touring.
Still touring. Yeah. Myself and Gav actually from that same podcast, we're heading up to the Rory Gallagher Festival at the weekend, and Pat he's playing a couple of sets throughout the whole weekend. So hopefully we can catch one of his sets at the festival. But
Oh, that's up in Donegal, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, up in Ballyshannon, Pat.
Up
Yeah,
in
this
Ballyshannon,
weekend.
where Rory is was born. Actually, that's where he was born.
He was
But
born in
yeah,
Ballyshannon.
Mama's
Yeah,
Boys. I saw him a lot of times back in the early '80s. Brilliant, and I saw
yeah,
Pat McManus as well. Solo, brilliant. That's a good pick, Rob. Very good
yeah,
pick.
yeah. Also, another album he has on his solo stuff, Pat Live and In Time,
Yeah,
and that's a great album as well for guitar playing.
yeah.
It's
He's a brilliant,
phenomenal.
very underrated guitarist. And there were 3 brothers in the original band in Mama's Boys.
That's right. That's right.
3
Yeah,
brothers, and one sadly passed away.
yeah.
And oh, he's a great guitar. Good band, very good band. That's a good one, Rob. What's your
That's
number
my number
4?
five. Number four. I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this one, Pat, but it's actually one I have. U2, and I have the Joshua Tree there.
No, I
Um,
don't like them at
so
all.
I had a feeling you wouldn't be in agreement with me on this one. But yeah, I went through different phases with U2. When I started listening to music first, U2 were, they were a big influence at the time. And then I went to see them at Slane Castle in 2001, and that was a fantastic gig, and they were brilliant that day. And I followed them then for a few more years. But as I started getting into more intricate guitar music, I kind of dropped
You
them. I
lost your
wasn't
way.
listening to them as much.
Lost your
Yeah,
way on them, yeah.
big time. They were a bit too pop, a bit too polished and produced, and maybe simple in the music. For me then in my twenties. So kind of didn't really listen to them a whole lot until recently, actually. Probably about 10 years ago, and they were playing a gig in Dublin on the
Yeah.
new album at the time in 2015, and myself and my brother went, got tickets, and I actually, funny enough, I bumped into Joe Elliott from Def Leppard at the gig. I was chatting to him for a few
Okay,
minutes.
very
An
good.
absolute gentleman, like a really nice
Yeah,
fella.
from
But
Sheffield. Yeah.
he's from Sheffield, but he lives in Enniskerry in County Wicklow,
Oh, does
and
he?
he's lived there for the last 35, 40 years. Yeah,
Imagine
since
that. I
the
didn't know that.
80s. Yeah, so he knows the lads in U2 quite well. So he'd tip in to Dublin if they're playing a gig. And I didn't know that. I was just, going to watch U2, and then I saw him. So I went over and I was chatting to him. And it was when Bad was on, that song. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it was like they're a phenomenal band. Like, I that night I was like, right, okay, I've been missing out here. So I had some of their albums, and then I went back and got more or less their whole catalog. I saw them on the Joshua Tree reunion tour at Crow Park in 2017 with my brother as well, and they played the whole Joshua Tree from start to finish. And that gig again, they were amazing. And I don't think I've seen them actually since. So I think they're due back. I think next summer or the summer after, probably.
well, they're in the
Um,
studio at the moment, aren't they? They're doing a new album.
are they? Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
heard
they
rumors, but I
are. They're
didn't
doing a
didn't
new
know.
album. Yeah.
Yeah, but look,
So you
I
do
have to
like
say that I love them.
you
I
do
love
like
them. I think it's yeah. The music mightn't be the most complex, but like the songs, I think
it
stand
is
up.
what it
Great
is. Yeah,
songwriters, great lyrics from
yeah,
Bono. I think The Edge is a genius. He's not an obvious guitar hero, but I think he is a genius in his own right. And
yeah,
yeah, for
yeah.
me, Joshua Tree, Actung Baby, Unforgettable Fire, brilliant albums.
Okay, never blew my boat, as I say. Never. I'll tell you an interesting thing about you too. In I think it was 1978. I think it's 78 or 79. When we were in school, our school was moved to a college, which is now the University of Waterford. And you two were playing for the students, that's the college students, in the gymnasium. And we weren't allowed to go in, but we were able to look over the door, and and they were playing, and never forget it. My mate Paul and Kevin will tell you, they were playing a Boomtown Rats track,
Wow,
cover track. Yeah. Like I think it was like Clockwork they were playing. So it must
very
have been
good.
79, I'd say, yeah. But we weren't one of the lads did get in, but we weren't let in with our uniforms and all that stuff because we were in school. These were the college students, you get me?
Yeah,
And we weren't let in. So before they ever made it. But never got into. I have one album by him, compilation, best of. That's it. Just to have it because I like one or two songs. But
cool.
interesting, Rob. Interesting. I think they made it big because of that thing in the 1980s. You remember the Band-Aid?
Oh, Live Aid, yeah,
Live Aid, yeah, Band-Aid, like because they were
1985.
on the Band-Aid song and then it was Live Aid. And I think a lot of bands did well out of that.
Yeah, particularly U2 and Queen.
Yeah, they did exceptionally well out of it.
Yeah,
You know,
agreed, agreed. That
exceptionally
put
well.
them on the map, Pat. 100%.
Yeah, it did indeed. Anyway, thanks for that. Now, my number 5, Bob, is an Irish band that you know with Tom Dunn in them. Something Happens.
Yeah,
This is their second album, which I bought when it came out. Stuck Together with God's Glue. Brilliant album. Saw him live a lot of times back in the 90s here in Waterford. Absolutely brilliant album. And then I went out then at a gig and I bought their second album. Or sorry,
very
third
good.
album, second after this. Bedlam a Go-Go. And another brilliant album. And I thought, Rob, this band were going to make it big. I thought they were way better than you two. Way better. Heavier, more guitar orientated, heavy guitar. And they just never did. They just never. They're still going around at summer festivals now, but they haven't had an album since 1998, and they kind of faded away. But and Tom Dunn then went on to be to work for a radio station here in Ireland as a DJ. So
Yeah. What was the show called? Tom Dunn's Pet Sounds.
that's correct. Yeah,
Is that right? I used to listen to that quite a lot.
yeah. I
Back in
listen
my
to Tom.
twenties.
Great man on the radio. But that's a
Yeah,
brilliant, underrated Irish band, and a lot of my
yeah,
viewers and subscribers now who are not from Ireland might not have heard of them. I just go and check them out on YouTube. Those two albums in particular. Right then, my number 4 is one of the great Irish bands that I think everyone around the world knows, and it's Tin Lizzy. And this is the album Black Rose, and their famous live album that everyone knows, Live and Dangerous. Brilliant band. I think they were formed in '69 in Dublin, and Phil Lynott, who was, of course, originally born in the West Midlands in the UK, but was brought up in Dublin by his mother, Philomena. And they were very close, himself and his mother, Philomena. And they were one of the big bands that came out of Ireland, Tin Lizzy. They never really made it big in America, but they were huge in the UK and Europe, but never really broke America, which I think is a shame, because I think they were better than a lot of bands, even from the UK. Phil Lynott. Gary Moore was on one album, and he helped him out earlier on with their earlier stuff. And your favourite guitarist, Scott Gorman, he's one of your favourite guitarists. And
Yeah.
Brian Robson as well in it. And of course, you have just a brilliant hard rocking band, and Brian Downey, of course, on drums. Brilliant drummer. Anyway, that's my number 4, the brilliant Tin Lizzy.
Brilliant. I won't say too much because they might come up later on. So,
Okay, what's
number
your
3 for me? Number 3 for me is Gary Moore.
Oh yeah.
So, of course, started with Skid Row back in the late 1960s, early 1970s, with, of course, Bruce Shields on bass, and was it Robbie Brennan on drums?
I think it might have been, yeah.
Yeah, but they were a fantastic 3-piece blues rock jazz fusion type of band. Very progressive, very cutting edge for what was happening at the time. Sort of in the
For an
mold
Irish
of
band, yeah.
Absolutely, like they were in the mold of Cream and the Jimi Hendrix Experience and all
Yeah, they
these
had that kind of
fantastic
vibe about
three
him,
pieces.
and they had the jazz fusion. And he was
Yeah,
very young then.
yeah, he
Uh,
was only 19, I think, when he moved down to Dublin to join that band.
yeah,
He's originally from Belfast, of course,
yeah.
but he
Born
wasn't
in
happy with the scene.
1942, actually. Born in 42,
Very
so
good, yeah.
he was born
So
around that.
So then, of course, as you mentioned, he went on to Tin Lizzy for a very short time when they were a three-piece
Born,
act.
sorry, Rob, 52 he was born. 52.
52. Yeah, so he was,
Yeah,
so in 1971 he would have been 19, and I think that's around the
19.
time
That's correct,
he
yeah.
was with Skid Row. But yeah, he moved on to Tin Lizzy then for a little bit after Eric Bell left. I think he recorded the guitar solo in Still in Love with You that's on the studio version of is it Nightlife? The Nightlife album, I think. And then he moved on from Tin Lizzy then, and he had his own solo career. He played with a band called Coliseum 2, which you'll be familiar with, Pat,
Yeah,
a jazz
proggy, yeah.
fusion,
Yeah,
progressive rock
proggy jazz fusion,
band.
yeah.
Then he had some hits with Phil as well. Phil Lynott from Tin Lizzy, of course, Out in the Fields and Parisian Walkways. Then he also joined Tin Lizzy and recorded the full album, as you say, the Black Rose there.
Black Rose album, yeah. Brilliant
Yeah.
album. What a
Then he
guitarist.
went back out again solo, and he actually recorded some metal albums in the 80s before going down the blues route in the 90s. So a virtuoso guitar player,
Virtuoso.
probably the best or the most gifted guitar player ever to be produced on this island.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could turn his hand to
Absolutely.
any style.
And he died, and also it was so sad that when he died in Spain actually in 2011.
That's right. I remember that. I remember when he died.
Yeah, very sad. I remember I heard that and it was very sad. Like, what a
Yeah,
brilliant guitarist. And he also played with Greg Lake's solo albums
that's right.
in the early
That's right.
80s from Emerson,
Yeah,
Lake and Palmer. And I think he had a track called Nuclear Attack that was on the Greg Lake solo album, and then he brought it out on a kind of an album of his own, bits and pieces.
yeah. He collaborated with everybody. George Harrison
Ah,
appeared on his album. He played with Neil Murray, who was the
they all
bassist
wanted him,
from
sure. They
Whitesnake.
all wanted him. He was that good.
Everybody wanted him.
He was that good. That good.
Jack Bruce. He played with Jack Bruce on an album as well. Causey
Yeah, he
Powell.
did. They did Bruce with Jack Bruce himself, and they brought out one album. I think one
Yeah,
album.
he did one with
Ginger
Causey
Baker.
Powell.
Yeah, Ginger Baker was on that as well.
Oh, Ginger Baker was on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Causey Powell. He had an album with him,
Yeah.
and there was another one of the progressive rock drummers. He had an album with. Was it
Well,
Billy Cobham? Could have been Billy Cobham.
he could have had, yeah. And don't forget, Ian Pace played on his Corridors of Power album
That's right. Yeah.
from Deep
Ian
Purple.
Pace and all that. So He was
Brilliant.
in
That's
there. He was in
oh,
all those connections, all those guys. Like
top class. What's your number 2, Rob?
number two for me, as you mentioned already, Pat, is of course Thin Lizzy. I have Live and Dangerous there, deluxe edition on CD. Um, Thin Lizzy forged the path. They were the first Irish rock band, or our first Irish band, really, to do it internationally. Um,
Mm.
you know,
One of
they
them.
were
Yeah,
writing their
yeah.
own songs. Phil was very driven. He wasn't afraid to play the game, the politics game, to get to where he needed to go with Thin Lizzy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he was very much an artist and a fantastic songwriter, a fantastic poet, and he led that band like fantastically well. You know, he kept obviously Brian Downey by his side the whole time on drums, but the guitar players, you know, they came in and out. Whether it was Eric Bell, Scott
Came
Gorham,
and
Ryan
went. Yeah.
Robertson,
Came and went.
Gary
Yeah.
Moore, John Sykes, Snowy White. There's a whole plethora of fantastic guitar players that came in and out of Thin Lizzy, but they still were able to have that, you know, sort of that hard rock style the whole way through their whole career. As you say, they were massive in Ireland and the UK, massive in Europe. Unfortunately, just a run of bad luck between Phil getting hepatitis when they were meant to tour the Jailbreak album, to Gary Moore breaking his hand the night before they were meant to fly out to America.
That's right. A lot
Um,
of things happened. It's
a
all
lot of
luck.
things
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, a lot of things happened.
Gary Moore left mid tour when they were touring that album, The Black Rose. He'd had enough of what was going on apart from the music, and he
Well, they were
decided to leave. And
smoking a lot of, how would you say, Moroccan woodbines, I'd say, and more.
yeah, and the rest,
And the
and the
rest, I'd
rest.
say.
But
You know what I mean?
very
Who took
tragic,
over?
and I
Who
think
took
they're
over in
getting
that
their
tour? Who took over on that tour?
Snowy. Midjour came out
Mature,
to
that's
cover a
right.
couple of dates.
Or
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did a great job. I believe a great job.
yeah.
You know, so
I've
reading back on
struggled
it,
to find live. I haven't seen him playing live on any
and there must be
um,
something out there. There must be a
videos.
bootleg out there. I'd say
There must be a
more than
bootleg.
likely.
Yeah, if anyone has
Yeah,
it, please send it on because I'd love to see it.
have to be.
Um,
But also, I saw Tin Lizzy without Phil Lynott here in Waterford,
yeah,
and Brian
yeah,
Downey was on drums, Scott
yeah.
Gorman was on guitar, and John Sykes
Oh, you
on
saw
who the
John
bass.
Sykes? Brilliant, Pat. Brilliant.
Yeah, and I was from here to the wall away. I was looking at him, and when you see him
Yeah,
up close, I like small venues to watch bands
yeah.
because you can get more intimate and watch them. Where I find when you go, and I hate big concerts actually, when
Mm,
there's 15,000, it's not the same, you know. You
yeah,
could be too far away, all that kind of stuff, you know.
yeah.
Anyway, that's very good. That's your number 2, Tin Lizzy.
That's my number two. Thin Lizzy. Yeah.
My number 3 is the brilliant guitarist that from Donegal, from Ballyshannon, Rory Gallagher. You know, and
Absolutely.
this is just a brilliant. I don't really have this album, Check Shirt Wizard, live in '77. Have you got that?
I don't have that one. No,
Oh my
no.
God, that's his best live album.
Really? Okay, I'll have to get
Oh,
that.
honestly, Rob, when you hear that, it's better than the Irish tour. It's better than live in Europe.
Okay.
Even though they're brilliant, I'm not saying they're brilliant, but
Yeah,
this one's another step up. And it's a nice little digipack as well. Look the way you can have the. It's nice. Look,
that's beautiful. Lovely.
and actually, it's you know what I mean. It's incredible
Yeah,
guitarist. Now, I know we were said earlier on about Gary Moore,
yeah,
and Gallagher was something else too because everybody wanted Rory Gallagher. There's another album, his
yeah,
studio album, Juice.
yeah,
And sadly, of course, died as well
yeah,
in the 90s, you know, and everybody wanted him. The Rolling Stones wanted him. He went over and checked it out. He
yeah.
wanted for him. He went off then to do a gig in Tokyo. Deep Purple, his name came up when Richie Blackmore left. David Coverdale said, "What's about Rory Gallagher?"
Yeah.
And they say, of course, a lot of people pronounce that wrong. Everyone says Gallagher or whatever. We say Gallagher, and that's the proper
Yeah.
pronunciation. Yeah, Rory Gallagher.
That's the Irish pronunciation or the anglicized pronunciation that we have in Ireland. That's the way we say it in Ireland.
That's the way
It's a
we say it here.
silent second G.
Silent second G. And David Coverdale said they were looking at him as well. He was that good, like.
Yeah, he
He
was.
was that good. And he
He
has a
was.
run, like from his, I know he was with the band Taste, and then he went solo.
Yeah.
but he has a run of albums from his first album. Jeez, I don't think he's ever made a bad album.
No, I
Even
agree,
down,
Pat. I
no, he
agree.
hasn't. He hasn't made a bad studio album.
Yeah,
No, you couldn't say like there's a lot of bands out there. Oh well, this is rubbish or this is average. He was consistent,
yeah.
and that's why I admire about him. Anyway, and unfortunately died, as I said. Now, number 2, you've already mentioned Gary Moore,
Brilliant.
and this I think is his first solo album, Back on the Streets.
Oh, that's an absolute classic.
That's and that you have a Tin Lizzy song on that, haven't you? With Phil Innes singing it. Of course, you have Prizzy and Walkways, but it's very jazz fusion. A
Very
lot,
jazz fusion.
a lot of jazz fusion on this. And absolutely, if anyone haven't heard this album, he could do it. He could play any style of music.
Yeah,
Didn't really matter to him. I think this album is 1978. Is it 78?
that's right. 78. Yeah.
But I don't know whether you've ever heard of this one he made in 73 called, and I have it on cassette, believe it or not, Grinding Stone.
No, I haven't come across that one, Pat.
No, that's a very rare one. Very
Right.
hard to get that one. It's on cassette. That's different. It's more bluesy. But check it out if you can hear it on YouTube, Grinding
I
Stone.
will. Grinding Stone.
Think of
Yeah,
it, he's
very
only
good.
21 on this album.
Yeah,
He's finding
unbelievable.
his feet, and it's a brilliant, brilliant album. First
Yeah,
time. Obviously not as good as back because he's getting a better guitarist at that
yeah,
time. But anyway, that's the great, brilliant Gary Moore. I know we talked about him again before.
yeah.
Rob, what's your number 1?
Number 1 for me is Rory Gallagher, or the Rory Gallagher
Uh,
Band. Yeah, I have Live in Europe there, Pat. As you said, it's a fantastic live album. They're a 3-piece on this one, and I absolutely love it to bits. I think the sound that they can get as a power trio on this
brilliant.
album is fantastic. Fantastic.
Brilliant, brilliant. And of course, you have Jerry McAvoy on bass. He's ever,
Jerry McAvoy on bass, yeah. Wilgar
every
Campbell on
album.
drums for this one.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but he was on every album, wasn't he? Jerry McAvoy,
Yes,
every
yeah.
solo album.
He appeared on every solo album, yeah. So obviously, as
And
you
yeah,
said, he started with the Taste back in the late 1960s. Of course, they played that famous festival, the Isle of Wight Festival.
yeah,
Have that on DVD. It's a phenomenal performance. Little did we know it was their last gig, or did the audience know? But yeah, they were brilliant. Rory was unbelievable that
incredible.
day, and in general as a guitar player, he was just
And
so visceral.
a very down to earth guy.
Yeah. So where I said about, I suppose this is the juxtaposition to Phil. Phil had no problem going in and playing the politics game to get Tin Lizzy to where he needed to go.
Yeah,
But Rory didn't want to play that game. And
no,
that's
he
the
didn't want
reason
to.
why Taste disbanded. He was just sick of being dictated to by management. He felt the other members of the band didn't have the same drive as he had. And then he went solo. And yeah, like Rory was, he was still playing venues right up until, a year or two before he passed away.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was very big in Germany, very big in the Netherlands, obviously big in Ireland and the UK as well, but didn't really go outside that. He wasn't really big. He didn't really try in America to be a
yeah. It was
star.
very big. No, he's big enough in America now, Rob. He is. A lot of people like him in
He is
America.
now, but was
Yeah,
he
now.
when
Then
in
maybe not.
the 70s and 80s?
But
Um,
he sold over 30 million studio albums.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
that's
do you
not
know
the.
what, Pat? I'd be interested to know how many of them were after he passed away, because I think it's a little bit of the Jimi Hendrix or the Kurt Cobain. When these guys pass away, they sometimes become more popular, and I think that's definitely the case with Rory Gallagher.
Oh yeah,
Um, his legacy, has increased because he's not around. Unfortunately,
it's a
and as
great
you
number
say,
1 anyway, Rob. Great number
died
1.
died very young, died too soon.
Way too soon. Imagine if he was still alive now, he would have brought out loads of albums. Absolute genius.
Yeah,
Absolute genius. Thanks for that, Rob. Now, my number 1 is the brilliant. I always call him progressive Celtic rock. The Horses.
yeah. I had a feeling, Pat, they'd be number 1 for you.
I love the Horses. I saw him play in late 79, early 80 in the Savoy here. I was only 14.
Yeah,
Blew me away. Blew me away. And this album was their first kind of big album in '73, The Tawn.
Mm.
And I noticed a lot of people when I watch people reviewing Horslips, not many now, they say the Tane. It's not, it's the Tawn.
Mm.
It's the fodder in it. And not a lot of people, if they're not Irish, you won't get it.
The
But
town is up here in County Loud, actually. It's up in
yes, yeah.
just
But this
outside
was,
Dundalk there.
you have Derek Doom on this.
Yeah, classic.
Absolutely brilliant, brilliant band. And of course, they were formed around 1970, and then 1980 they broke up, came back and done a few bits and bobs. But their
Yeah,
last album, The Man Who Built America, what a pure class album, rock album. They were big in Ireland, big in the UK, big across Europe. Not in the Tin Lizzy side of big now, but big enough. And
yeah,
never outside that, not really, They wouldn't be well known at all in America. And of course, their masterpiece is this, The Book of Invasions. It's a Celtic rock symphony. And I think it's prog, it's Irish prog rock. And it's absolutely from start to finish. It's brilliant. A brilliant Barry Devlin on this as well. Like a bass player, Barry. And he's a very personal, Paul, to be on my show sometimes, Paul.
yeah.
He's a personal friend of Paul's.
Really?
Barry, yeah, he is. And a gentleman. No,
Yeah,
gentleman. But this album defined the Horslips.
yeah,
And if anyone has never heard that album and you're into prog and you like a bit of Irish music, they had a mixture of all these different genres.
yeah. They did
Like,
lean heavily into the Celtic music. I know
yeah, and
Tin Lizzy did as well, but I think the Horslips really
they
leaned
really
that
did. They had a
direction.
lot of old tunes that they would have, you know, redone and
Yeah,
rejigged them and put their own spin on them. But they're so good. And also, I think if you listen to this album, The Book of Invasions, you can see as well that they were influenced by Jethro Tull.
very good.
You can hear a bit of Jethro Tull in there. But because of the Irishness of it, it's unique.
Hmm.
And it's one of the greatest albums ever produced by an Irish artist. Actually, for me, it's the greatest album produced by anybody from Ireland. Yeah, The Book
Brilliant.
of Invasion. It's just that. It's just pure class.
High
1970,
praise.
and yeah, it is high. And they were brilliant musicians, and very underrated. Because of the Irish tunes they had, that they
Yeah.
wrote a lot of brilliant songs.
Well, twin lead guitar and dual harmonies, they
Yeah,
had all that going as well.
they were just so good, and the keyboard player was absolutely superb.
Yeah, yeah. Fantastic
That
musicians.
and the drum, they were all brilliant.
Yeah.
And I know it was a long time ago. I don't remember now. I can't visualize the gig I was at. And I know they've come back and done a few bits and bobs,
They
but they
they
haven't.
actually played a gig in Drogheda for the Fla back
That's
in
what they did. Yeah,
2018 or 19. I missed it now. I'm kicking myself. I missed it because I think the guitar player passed away about 2 years ago.
that's right. Yeah, and I saw him after that. I think back in the 2000s. I think there was only
Yeah,
one original member
yeah,
left, and they were playing again here in the Forum here in Waterford, and they were
yeah,
still brilliant, even though they were all different musicians on it. They had one original, but they were still brilliant.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
Rob, as well as I do, Ireland is full of brilliant musicians,
Yes,
irrespective of what type of music they play.
yeah, yeah. There is. It's and like there's a lot of traditional Irish music in Ireland,
Yeah.
but there's also a lot of rock, a lot of metal, a lot of prog,
Yes. Yeah.
a lot of singer-songwriter stuff. Ireland is, we just have a culture, Pat, where, art, music, poetry.
It's
It's
ingrained in
very,
our
very
history, I
cultured
think.
island,
Yeah, very ingrained in our history, though, isn't it?
big time,
It's
big time. Yeah,
ingrained in us, music and the arts, and
yeah,
making up all these stories, these medieval stories, and that's why I think the Book of Invasions, like it is a Celtic rocks, it's a symphony.
yeah,
You have all the stories. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Brilliant. Sure. Trouble with a capital T. What a track.
That's a great tune. Love that.
Sword of
Love that.
Light.
Yeah,
My leg and love on it. Absolutely class.
great choice, Pat.
Anyway,
They're
that
they're
is
definitely
my
my honourable mention, Pat. Shall we say?
Horslips. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
to. I love them. I absolutely love them, Rob. Love them.
Brilliant.
Well, Rob, did you enjoy that?
Yeah, that was great, Pat. Great stuff. Thanks very much
Thanks
for
very
having me on
much
your
for have,
channel.
thanks very much, Rob, for coming on the channel. And I just want to ask my subscribers and viewers, if you're watching this and you like it, hit the subscribe button, notification, do all that kind of stuff. It really does help me. And I'm going to leave the link for Rob's brilliant channel in the description below. And if you could kindly go over and check his channel out and have a look at some of his videos, it would help him out enormously as well. I really would. But Rob, thanks very much for coming on Close to the Edge.
Thanks, Pat. It's great to be on.
Brilliant to have you on. And I just want to say to everyone out there, whatever you're doing, stay safe. And one thing I always say, Rob, it's nice to be nice. You can't beat
Definitely.
it. It's nice to be nice. So for me, Pat, and Rob from Wall again, whatever you're doing, stay safe. Bye-bye and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.